So welcome back to the Prescription to Travel MD podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Courtney Downes, and I'm really excited about the guest that we have here with us today. I mean, if you've ever thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to be a travel agent, or wouldn't it be cool to be even better, a Disney travel agent, or even if you just love everything Disney, then you're going to be really excited about our next guest. Even if you just think it's cool that someone could be like an amazing orthopedic surgeon, run a household, plan amazing vacations for other people, you're really going to be excited about our next guest. And I just want you to know that you're in the right place. And we have here with us today on the show, Dr. Bev Guo. So I met Dr. Guo a couple of years ago. So we were planning a Disney vacation. We booked a vacation to Disney World through a CME conference. And so the conference was able to provide us with tickets at like discounted prices. They were able to provide us with the rooms and all these different things. So we booked all those things, and then we started looking at what it really meant to be able to plan a Disney vacation. And I was just so flustered by the idea of having to book dinner reservations and being able to figure out which park to go to first and navigating Genie Plus. I'm like, what's this? Like, we were like Disneyland people, like go for the day. My kids ride the kids rides, and Disney World was just a whole different monster. And so myself and my husband, we're not the wait in line patiently for 2 hours type people, and so trying to figure out what we could do to sort of streamline things and make this a great vacation. I went on to the Mom Docs travel group and I looked at a few different travel agents. I reached out. Some of them were already booked up because it was a little last minute. I think it was like a couple months before that we reached out to you. And some of them wouldn't actually help out unless you booked your room or booked your Disneyland tickets and booked like more than one ticket through them. And so, we already had that stuff in place, and we were able to reach out to Bev, and for, a nominal fee, she was able to make sure that our vacation was seamless. And so ever since then, I sing your praises. Anytime someone mentions like, hey, I need a travel planner, I'm like, hey, you should call Bev because she will make sure everything goes exactly as planned. I remember even I was getting there, I think it was like the first day we called you and we were like, oh, like the Star Wars thing shut. I was like, she's probably thinks I'm crazy, but I was really like nervous about trying to, navigate the parks and like not have my husband hate coming to Disney World. So thank you for that. But I am really excited to talk with you today and just let everyone else hear all about the amazingness that is Bev and how they can have you book their next vacation. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I appreciate it. I appreciate such a kind and generous introduction. Yeah, so like Courtney said, I enjoy and I love travel planning. And I think that it's one of those great joys that I think a lot of people love doing. Travel is something I think is universal for a lot of different people. And it's one of those fun things that you get to do while you're on a trip. You get to think about what your next trip is going to be and kind of like have something to look forward to while you're working away, taking care of the kids, doing all the, stuff on a day-to-day basis. You have something fun to look forward to in like 2 to 3 months or even 6 months or a year out from now.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you go to school? How'd you get started? How'd you end up here?
Right. So I actually grew up in Northern California, and I would go to Disneyland on the regular when I was younger with my family because we had cousins who lived in Southern California. So Disneyland has always been a very integral part of my childhood growing up. So as I got older and, ended up having kids, I ended up moving out to the East Coast and, did my training in the East Coast and kind of settled in the East Coast area. I now have 2 boys. They're now 10 and 7. And I started taking my oldest when he was 18 months. So I took him back to Disneyland when he was, he could barely walk. And, I look back at the pictures now and he was so little. And I wanted to be able to recreate sort of the memories I had with my family, with my own kids. And so it was one of those things where I loved bringing my kids. My kids loved it. And then people, I would talk to my friends and family about, oh my gosh, we had such a great time on our Disney trip. And they'd start asking me questions like, oh, what did you do? Where did you stay? And it kind of just slowly snowballed from there, just because people knew that I really enjoyed and I loved Disney and I loved planning. So it kind of came hand in hand. And it was very random how I ended up starting to plan sort of on a more official capacity. I saw that the agency that I'm currently with right now, they were looking to hire more travel agents, of all places, Facebook, which I feel like is the great, if you need to find anything, it's either on YouTube or on Facebook.
Right.
And so the agency was looking for more agents, and totally on a whim, I was like, oh, sure, I'll just go ahead and, just put in an interest form. They'll never call me. They probably get so many people who want to travel plan and, to plan Disney for other people. So they ended up reaching out after I submitted the form, had an interview, and they said if I wanted to come on as an agent, as part of the agency, they would totally welcome me on. So that's how I ended up starting to plan in a more official capacity with an agency. And if you're looking to be a travel planner or travel agent, you definitely do need to have an agency to back you up. So you need to have the agency to kind of give you the ability to be able to book the different brands, whether it be Disney, it could be cruises, it could be all-inclusives. We're just looking to book like a trip in Europe, South America, Asia. Usually you would need to have an agency-backed planner to help you out. There's a couple reasons why it's helpful. They have the resources to be able to find the best deals, and also to be able to see what, trips and what different vendors are out there, and help you kind of bring the resources together to plan the best trip for you.
And so did you have any experience as a travel agent in like any official capacity before this?
No, it was completely brand new. I think my only capacity as a travel planner was very casually with friends, and I would kind of plan and, help them plan out their trips. As a, planner, most of the planners, they kind of work, it's more of a small side business. You work for the travel agency, but you're also sort of like a small business owner at the same time. So I think it fits a lot of physicians' personalities quite well, because you can type A, you get to set your own schedule, you get to take on as many clients as you want, and you have the capacity to do as much and as little as you want, and be able to plan as much and as little as you want. In that capacity, it was a little bit of a learning curve in terms of how to kind of get your business started, and also how to sort of, plan and give information to the clients in the best and informative way possible. So there definitely is a little bit of learning curve for each travel agency. Their support is a little bit different. So I think if you're looking to be a travel planner or a travel agent, it's definitely worthwhile to look at a few different agencies if that's something that you're interested in, to see what kind of support they give you as someone who's working as part of their agency. But also doing this gives you sort of the flexibility to be as creative as you want. You have the freedom to kind of set your own terms and work in the hours that you want to as well.
Yeah. And I think that's so cool. And I think that's something that a lot of us as physicians in this community are looking for, the ability to have the freedom.
Right, totally. And I think it is great because not only are you doing research for your friends and family and clients and people that you work with, and I've worked with you before, and we're working on something together now, so you get to kind of form these great friendships and great sort of like travel buddies where you get to plan. You end up you feel like you're planning great trips for your friends. So you're not only researching for other people, but you're kind of also researching for yourself at the same time. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I totally want to take this trip now. I want to go here. So it's kind of very fun. And I think it takes, works a different side of your brain too as well. But also, I think it fits a lot of the type A personality people very, very good as well. It fits that mold very well.
And so do they offer like any type of education before you get started, or how does that work?
So in terms of the different agencies, depending on what the emphasis may be, each agency, there's some agencies that are a little bit more Disney heavy. There may be some agencies that are more cruise heavy for different brands that are out there. So you may hear of Royal Caribbean as a popular cruise brand, or you may hear of Club Med as a popular all-inclusive brand. Each brand usually has their own training modules and training that agents can go through. So it's dependent on each person. If you're really into Disney, Disney has a lot of great training modules and training plans, as well as all of the other brands. So you have all the resources there if you want to start out to learn about the different brands, the different types of planning that you could do. And also the agency is helpful too as well. If you have a great supportive agency with great owners and great coworkers that answer questions that you may have, that's also really important if you're looking to start out as a travel planner.
And do you need to get any type of certification, or you just sign up and you're all set to go?
That is a great question. In terms of being a certified travel planner, that in itself sometimes may be a misnomer because there's no certification per se. It's not like in medicine where you have to study and you take like a board and you get certified to be, a physician, and you can kind of show your diploma and say that this is the training that I went through, and this is a certificate that I can show you to let you know that I did go through med school and went to go through residency and pass all my boards, and I'm a certified physician. There are definitely courses that you can take as a travel planner. Nothing is required per se. There's certain verifications, certain things that a good travel planner should have, and if you're looking for a travel planner, you can always ask them if they're insured and bonded. Because if anything happens to the trip, let's just say things get canceled, or sometimes mistakes do happen, trip accidentally gets canceled. You want to make sure that the travel planner does have insurance so that if something happens, your trip, whether it be out of the control of you or the travel planner, may be reimbursed appropriately. You want to make sure that they're with an agency, and that being with an agency, it gives them the capacity to be able to look for the different discounts and to have the ability to be able to bring to the table different companies that work specifically with agencies, because there's some companies that only work with agencies because they give them the best discounts and deals. So I think that those are the couple of things that you want to look for when you're looking for a planner is, are you insured and bonded, and are you working for an agency, or are you backed by agency? And I think that's super helpful, because if there's any issues with the planner, you have someone higher up that you can ask for further assistance.
And do you get the insurance yourself, or are you insured through the company?
Since most travel planners by themselves are independent, basically we're independent business owners. We're all part of just a bigger agency. Each agent technically usually has their own insurance. There may be some agencies that may offer a general umbrella insurance for all the agents. So you just want to make sure whether the agent is either covered by their own travel insurance, or they're insured and bonded by their own policy, or the travel agency has some sort of policy to cover the agent.
And do you work with just one company, or do you work with multiple companies?
Usually most travel planners just work with one company. So you'll see, I work with, my company is Once Upon a Wish Travel. So if you ever see me online or see me on, social media, it's going to be my name, Bev Guo, with Once Upon a Wish Travel. Most agencies will only want you to work with their own specific agency. It just makes sense. You don't want to have your agent working with different agencies, because it can kind of cross the line between trying to figure out which client is with which agency. So it can get a little hairy.
And so I know when you planned our trip, you sent us all these really cool outlines. I mean, it was detailed to the T. We knew what time we needed to get up to get to the ferry in the morning, to be able to, to get to the park that we were going to, out the door for rope drop, all these things. I didn't even know what rope drop was when we started planning this. But everything was just so well organized. And I think it really just made for an amazing trip for us. I know because we went to Disneyland afterwards, which is not nearly as complicated. And we didn't have an outline, and I was sitting there going, okay, which rides do we need to go on for this? And which rides need the Genie Plus and which ones don't? But do the companies provide that for you? Or is that something that you take upon yourself to make?
Each agent sort of puts together what they think is important. So what you have with one agent, even though they may be planning the same trip, you may have different material and different assistance. So all the information that I gave you was what I put together, and a lot of the stuff that I put together is stuff that, from personal experience, I was like, this is what I think I would want in a PDF. Disney in itself, I think most people in their lifetime will probably go to Disney at least once. And if they like it enough, they probably will go a little bit more, especially if the kids are like, Mom, let's go again. This is so much fun. So Disney in itself used to be very easy. I remember when I was a little kid, we literally would drive to the entrance of Disneyland, park, walk 10 minutes, and we didn't have park tickets for that day. So we go to the ticket office and we were like, we need 5 tickets for my family. And we just walk in the park at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it just seemed very, very easy then. And now it's become, and it's evolved into a different beast. And can be a little bit more complicated. You mentioned Disney World and Disneyland, although they're both Disney, are two very different parks, and you attack each park a little bit differently. Disney World has 4 parks, Disneyland only has 2. And with sort of the different additions that they have now, with the number of parks that they have, with the amount of resorts that they have, so Disney World has 22 resorts on property that you could potentially choose from. So that in itself, and trying to pick a resort where to stay can be mind-boggling. And I can just imagine if sometimes I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner, and much less trying to figure out the difference between 22 different resorts and trying to pick out the best one that you think your kids are going to enjoy and that, you're going to have a great time, can be a little mind-boggling. And then imagine 22 resorts, 4 different parks, and then you add all the different dining options that you can have, which can be, can get a little bit complicated. And then people might have heard of the skip the line system. It's gone through different iterations, planning Disney pre-COVID, post-COVID, and within the past 6 months have changed drastically and significantly in terms of just the booking time frame and also sort of how to book rides. So it definitely has become a little bit more complicated in the sense that it requires a little bit of pre-planning. But I tell folks that it's like any trip that you go on. You could, you're not going to go to Paris without kind of researching where you're going to go, where you're going to stay, what great restaurants you're going to have, maybe buy tickets to Eiffel Tower ahead of time, just because, it's going to, you're going to need tickets, and, make sure there's a back entrance to the Louvre that you need to go into without having to wait in front of where the pyramid is at. So I think planning Disney is a little bit like that. If you just put a little pre-planning in, it really makes a big difference in how the trip is going to go. And it just makes things a little bit smoother, because once you get there, if you just have an idea of what time to get there, what rides you're going to ride, I think everything falls into place. And I tell folks is that everything that I put together for you is just based off of my experience and even your experience, and people telling me this is what worked great, these are the things I could make it better. And so all of that is just compiled together over time to kind of help the next person that I work with, the next mom, the next physician, to try to make it, just a more efficient and better trip.
Yeah. So, and going to Disneyland is like, you literally just show up. Like if you come to Vegas, you just show up and maybe you don't have plans, but going to Disney World is like going to Paris.
Yeah, a little bit. But I tell folks is that I think the learning curve is a little bit steep. And I think when you first kind of see all the different components of it, it can be a little daunting. But I think most people, after you go there for the first day, and you kind of, like with anything that you do, once you get the lay of the land and you kind of, go through how to use the Lightning Lane system for the first day, I tell folks, like, by the end of your trip, you can definitely be a Disney planner because you've done everything that you need to do. You've been to all the parks, all the rides, you've tried out some of the restaurants, and you're good to go. So if you never use me again as a planner at Disney, that just means I've done my job.
Disney's always changing though, because I think isn't like Genie Plus going away, or they're doing something new, or going back to Lightning Lane.
So this is sort of like the evolution. There may be some people that went to Disney pre-COVID and haven't been back since then. So pre-COVID, a few years back, Disney planning was a little bit more drawn out. You would have to make your dining reservations 6 months ahead of time, and you would have to make your what they call fast passes. So what they call lightning lanes now, you would make those reservations 3 months ahead of time. So a lot of the planning was fairly drawn out, and you would really have to plan months in advance. Post-COVID now, if you decide to go to Disney in 3 months, it still works out great, because now your activity and dining reservation is only 60 days out from the first day of your trip. And the new iteration of the skip the line pass, called multi-pass Lightning Lane, if you stay on property, you can now pick 3 rides ahead of time per park day 1 week before your trip. So the last iteration was called Genie Plus Lightning Lane. About 2 months ago, they changed the name, and it's called Multi-Pass Lightning Lane. So basically, just a different, they just kind of threw a different skin on basically the same thing. But what the cool thing about it now is that if you're on property, you get to pick the rides ahead of time. So you no longer need to wake up first thing in the morning at 7 o'clock. And I think you remember doing that, where I told you at 7 o'clock, got to wake up in the morning, pick your first Lightning Lane ride. Now Disney has made it a little bit easier. You no longer need to have to wake up every morning at 7 o'clock. You can just wake up when you need to wake up for the trip. You already have 3 rides ready to go. And once you use your first Lightning Lane pass, which allows you to skip the standby line, you can pick another pass. So throughout the whole day while you're at the parks, you can always hold on to 3 passes for you to skip the lines. So that they've also tried to make it a little bit more less cumbersome. And I think Disney knows that that can be a lot of planning involved, and they're trying to make it a little bit simpler for families to not have to feel like they have to be on their phones or need to, wake up at 7 o'clock when you're like on vacation. I think that's probably the last thing that you want to do, is to like wake up so early in the morning to pick your rides.
Yeah, I think, and it was very, very cumbersome. And it does kind of take away from your experience, because you are on your phone all the time. You've got your backup chargers, because Disney app will drain your battery, and you're just constantly refreshing and trying to make sure that you're ready for the next line, next ride. People who don't have the phone or who aren't managing all those things maybe don't feel it as much, because they just know, okay, we're going to the next ride, and they just kind of, move along. But if you're the person who's like in charge of the trip and making sure that everything goes smoothly, you're constantly refreshing. So I think that would be definite advantage to this new program that they're rolling out.
I think it's a great change, and all the people that I've traveled so far in the past couple months really appreciate and like the fact that they know where they're going to go, and it's just much simpler. And I think, with anything in life, I think simple is great, right?
Yes.
Like you want to whole goal is to just go and have fun. You're on vacation. You just want to ride some rides, eat some churros, watch some fireworks at night, have the kid, buy a bubble wand for the kids and just call it a night.
Right.
And I think that Disney recognizes that, and they're trying to make it definitely a little bit more user-friendly.
Are there any travel hacks or tips that you would pass along to people who may be going for their first time?
I love Disney because although there's some amazing, great food there, I always tell folks is that don't forget you can Instacart food to your hotel, and you can bring snacks, water. People bring coolers full of food into Magic Kingdom. I think that that's something that people kind of, when you go on vacation, you're just like, oh, can I bring food? Like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do? So I think definitely, consider ordering food ahead of time to your room. So you always have, some snacks ready to go is always great. I tell like most families to go ahead and order ahead of time. In terms of going to Disney World, a lot of people think that Disney World is just the parks and just the rides, but there's so much more to Disney World besides the 4 parks that you hear about. There is there's so many different lagoons. So you can rent a pontoon and get a guided fishing guide to fish, do catch and release for a couple hours on a lagoon. So if you have any fishermen in your family, it's a great place to go. They have 3 golf courses at Disney World, along with 2 mini golf courses. So if you're a big golfer, that's a great place to kind of, spend a rest day. They actually have a ranch called Triple Circle Ranch, for obvious reasons, because 3 circles equals a Mickey's head, where all of the horses live on property, and you can actually visit the ranch. There's pony rides there, and you can, hang out there for like half a day. During the holidays, there is a campground called Fort Wilderness Campground. And if you haven't been there before during the holidays, I highly recommend going to Fort Wilderness Campground. You can actually rent a golf cart ahead of time, and at nighttime at dusk, take the golf cart, load your family on the golf cart, and drive around the campgrounds, because every single campground is lit up with lights, with blow-up dolls, with all the different accoutrements, whether it be, if you go for Halloween, it'll be Halloween themed. If you go for Christmas, it's going to be Christmas themed. So I think those are some like fun things that you get to do while you're at Disney that people don't realize is that there's also the parks, but also, give yourself like a day, maybe even 2, to kind of enjoy what's not in the parks and what's on property. To go from north to south in Disney World in itself, it's probably about 20-25 minutes by car. So when you think about it, it's actually a very, very large property, and there's so much within property that you may not see or may not realize that is there for you to experience.
Yeah, I had no idea any of those things existed.
Oh my goodness, it's so much fun. A lot of people who go to Disney, if you go on their regular, you start ending up like, only spending 1 or 2 days in the parks, and you kind of start doing all the other activities. There's actually also 2 water parks at Disney World too as well. So they alternate when they open. One closes for refurbishment, but there's one that's always open. And starting next year, 2025, if you decide to go to Disney, you stay on property. The first day that you're there, you always feel like, I wouldn't say it's like a wasted day, but you get there, it may be like 10 o'clock in the morning, it may be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're always like, what am I going to do? What do we do? It's only half a day. We're not going to go to the parks until the next day. So Disney, for starting next year, on the first day that you arrive, they have a loaded water park admission for free. So you can go to the water park the first day that you're there before you go to the parks on whatever day that your first park day is going to be. So I think that's like a nice added perk for 2025 for anyone who's thinking about traveling to Disney.
I foresee a Disney World trip in my near future.
Just make sure it's a little bit warm. Disney can be a little chilly December into January. So anytime after February would be a great time to use that perk up.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, my son has become like Disney obsessed since our trip. He wants to be a Disney animator now. So like he'll tell you everything that you never wanted to know about Disney. He will tell it all to you. So
Disney animation is so amazing. They actually have, if and when you go again, there's all these little nooks and crannies. And I think that what's great about Disney is like every trip is different. Even though you go into the same parks, every experience is different. If you have a budding animator like your son, in Animal Kingdom of all places, there's a place called Rafiki's Planet Watch, which is you have to take a train from where Africa is at. And it's a train that takes you to where the petting zoo is at and also where the vet station is at. So during the day, you may be able to see the vet at work, taking care of all the animals at Animal Kingdom. But in that conservation station, they have animator classes that you can take. So there's animators, Disney animators that come out every hour or two, and they lead a class on drawing and animating a Disney character. So if you go back again, there may be something fun to do for any budding artists that are there out in Animal Kingdom.
Very cool. Well, you're like opening up a whole new world of Disney that I didn't even know existed.
Oh yeah, there's so much more. Like all the little like nooks and crannies of Disney is really interesting and kind of fun. There's some other fun things and fun facts is that you can always, when you're at a Disney resort, you can always go to the front desk and ask to see if they have a scavenger hunt. So some resorts will have it, some resorts won't. And at the end, if you complete the scavenger hunt, sometimes you'll be able to get a little prize from the front desk. My favorite scavenger hunt is actually at the Wilderness Lodge during Christmas time. They will have hidden Chippendale all around the resort. So as you're going to the different places in the resort, going to the pool, going to dining, going to you're just like walking around, you're going to see like different Chippendales, and then you can redeem it for like a little small ornament if you complete the scavenger hunt. So that's always something fun to do if you're looking for something to do on a rest day.
And so you're doing all these Disney trips. So I imagine you're a season pass holder?
I am an annual pass holder.
And do they give you guys like certain perks as travel agents for like booking season passes or your Disney trips or?
For season passes, no. So the annual passes, unfortunately, they don't give a discount because that in itself is a discount. As a travel planner, there's definitely discounts for the different brands that you potentially could work with. There's going to be discounts on tickets and discounts on booking rooms as well. Disney also has different arms in terms of their travel side of the business. So they have the parks. They have Disney Cruise Line, they have Adventures by Disney, and National Geographic Explorer Adventures is also part of the Disney brand. So they have everything covered from land to sea, along with curated trips through Adventures by Disney. So Adventures by Disney is an amazing collection of curated trips between like 3 days to like 2 weeks for all different destinations across the world. So you could search for Asia destinations, you can search for destinations in South America, Europe, and they basically take care of you from beginning to end. And when you think of Disney, the things that come to mind when I think of Disney is customer service, and they take care of everything from, from the littlest things, and they make sure that everyone has a great time. And also it's kind of geared towards kids. So you know that if you go, you're going to have a great time, and you also have the peace of mind knowing that your kids have a great time. And these trips, they cover in your hotel. They plan out your day for you. So you have like an itinerary with some free time. So let's just say you're going to go to Italy. You're going to have like a private guided trip to the Vatican. The next day, you're going to have a pasta making session with like what are they known as at like, like a local farm type of a place. So they're very intimate, smaller setting, curated trips for families. And you're going with either other families or basically a very small group, usually like 10 to 20 people, 40 at most if it's for a bigger trip. So that's what Adventures by Disney is. And the National Explorer is a little bit more on the adventure side. So it'd be stuff like an Antarctic trip or going to the Galapagos. So more of a ego educational aspect to that would be sort of like the National Geographic Explorer side. As part of being a travel planner and as, being doing a lot of Disney, you definitely do get perks through Disney, but then also you get perks in terms of getting more discounted rates for all of the brands that they have to work with.
Okay, very nice. Have you taken any of the other trips with them?
No, so that is going to be on my bucket list of things to do. So I feel like it's sort of like a little rung one at a time. So I've definitely done Disney a lot. I love Disney cruises, and it's kind of ironic because a few years back, I think a cruise would be the last place you would find me, as I would not want to be. As I told, I've told many friends before, is like, why would I want to be stuck on a boat with people that I don't know and I can't get off? I have to say, I totally changed my tune. I went on a cruise with my kids, and they absolutely loved it. I think cruising can be a great experience in the sense that everything is taken care of for you. And I think a lot of times, and it's very different than planning a Disney trip. Planning a Disney trip, you kind of have to decide where you're going to go eat, what your day is going to be like, what rides you're going to want to ride on. Whereas I feel like the Disney cruise is the complete opposite. You have the customer service of Disney, but everything's already taken care of for you. The food's already made for you. Everyone tells you where you need to go for dining. You don't have to worry about where to go because they already tell you you have a set schedule in terms of today you're going to go to this restaurant, second day you're going to go to this restaurant, third day you're going to go to this restaurant, because they have a rotational dining for 3 different restaurants and you just rotate through the restaurants. All of the activities are taken care of for you on the boat. If you are going off the boat for a port day, you have a bunch of different options to select from, but you can already choose from whatever is curated for you, so you don't have to sit there and try to find something to do. So it's a very easy trip, and I think it's a very relaxing trip, because once you get on board the boat, you know that you don't really have to worry about anything because everything is already taken care of for you until you get off the boat.
Nice. And how old are your kids?
My kids, I have 2 boys. So the oldest is 10 and the youngest is 7. We started going when my oldest was 18 months. And since my youngest was a baby less than a year old. So I think that with travel, I think I used to think, I wish my kids were a little bit older and I would take them places. But I almost feel like sometimes it's almost a little bit easier when they're a little bit younger so they don't run off as quickly. But I think that Disney is great for all ages. It's great for the older kids because they might have seen the movies and they may appreciate it a little bit more and they can ride more of the rides. But I also think that it's great for the younger kids, even the toddlers, the 2, 3, 4-year-olds, because they do really feel the magic. Like when you see them like walk in the parks, ride the rides, they see Mickey, they see like Ariel in her dress, and they're just like, oh my gosh, we saw these characters and Mom, I love this ride. You may think that they're too young to remember, but I think that it's the little core memories that they form. And it's just really surprising the things that they still do remember from when they were little that you never think that you would have thought that it was something just like a flash in the pan and they would never remember it. But some of the memories that they kind of like tell you, like, oh, Mom, like I totally remember riding this ride. And yes. You're just like, you were 3.5. I don't know how you have that memory. I remember it because I was with you, but you somehow have it like seared in the brain. So it's very much, sometimes I think of it like Inside, the movie Inside Out, where, all the different memories of like happiness and sadness. Yeah. So you have like all these like little core memories, like, these little beads of memory like packed away somewhere, and they're all over in the head. And like every trip, you make one or two core memories, and that's just something that they hold on to as kids and they will remember. So yeah, I think it's also a testament because I remember having those core memories when I was a kid. So it's really nice to kind of see how it's sort of, my kids have kind of picked up and have developed their own core memories as well.
Right. And you're getting ready to make some more memories on an upcoming Disney cruise. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm super excited. So we, as a family, we all decided we wanted to go cruise again. So we're going to be going next summer. We're doing a 7-night Mediterranean cruise. So it's going to include like 3 port stops in Rome, a couple port stops in Greece. And it's called a closed loop. So closed loop cruise means that you start and you end at the same port, whereas an open loop means you start at one port and you end at another port. So very excited. I'm excited to, eat a lot of pasta, eat a lot of gelato, discover each port, go to Rome and just make some more memories with the kids.
Yeah, that's exciting. So how do you find time to do all this? You're in the OR, you're like planning other people's trips. Do you still have time for all these amazing trips?
So I am lucky where I am, during my day, as I call my day job, I work part-time. So then I wouldn't say that I was like looking for something else to do per se, but this kind of just fell into my lap, and I really enjoy it a lot. I think with anything that anyone does, whether it be work or non-work, I think everyone needs to kind of find a hobby or something that they're really interested in, just to kind of, have a different side of the brain. I think us as physicians, we're, I wouldn't say it for everyone, but this is just my personal experiences. It's always been sort of like, I want to be a physician, so we're going to go to college and we're going to finish college. And what's the next step? We're going to apply for med school. Then after med school, we're going to do residency. And after residency, it's going to be fellowship. And after fellowship, we're going to have a job. And then you get to a point where just like, okay, we got there, we're finished working, and, you may not have like kids, you may have furry kids, you may have, a spouse or partner to take care of. And then you start looking for something different and something to kind of fill your cup. And so this has kind of filled my cup in a different way. I absolutely love it. I think it's something so fun. I enjoy like meeting different people that I've worked with, different physicians, planning people's trips. It's just so fun being able to get pictures from different families, at the parks or having a great time, because I think that sort of fills the other part of being a physician is you want to help people and you want to, in whatever capacity it may be, whether it's in the OR or, seeing patients like in the clinic, or helping them to plan like a great trip. Time is very precious. And I think it's one of those things where whatever time that you have with your family, whether it be at the dinner table or on a vacation where you have unadulterated like one-on-one time with your kids is so precious. And whatever time that you have, you want to really kind of make it the best time that you have. And I think hopefully, with whatever I do, I'm able to help families sort of get together and make really good memories that they can remember, when they get older.
Yes. Well, you've certainly contributed to our family's memories, and I know you'll be a big part of our lives going forward too.
Oh, thank you.
And so if there are other people who are looking to get a hold of you because maybe they want to have you help with planning their trip, and again, I highly recommend it because I love planning my own trips, but it was just such, again, a relief, and just we had such a joyful experience because we had all of your details and all of your instructions. And so I think you'd be a great resource for people. And so if they want to reach out to you so that way they can have assistance with planning their own trips, or even if there are people who are interested in maybe becoming a travel agent and they want to know exactly the process and get some more information, how can they find you?
Yeah, that's great. Like, I'm happy to assist in any way. If you're looking to be a travel planner, I'm also happy to be, to give you more information to kind of get started on your own journey in terms of, just doing something a little bit different on a day-to-day basis. I have a Facebook page. It's Bev Guo, and my last name is spelled Guo, at Once Upon a Wish Travel. And you can also email me at my email address, which is my first name dot last name at onceuponawishttravel. So it's bev.guo at onceuponawishtravel.com. And just to kind of let people know, in terms of travel planner and travel planning, most travel planners, especially for Disney, their services are usually completely free. If the travel planner is able to book the trip for you on your behalf with Disney or with any hotel property that you may decide to stay at, because they, including Disney, will compensate the travel planner for their time. So majority of the time, if you decide to use a planner, whether it be for a cruise, whether it be for Disney, whether it be for an all-inclusive, majority of the planners usually can plan for free. There will be some planners that do charge a planning fee. So you just kind of you may want to interview different planners or kind of talk to different planners and see what their fee structures are. My planning is completely free if I'm able to book on your behalf. And I'm happy to, chat about Disney, about cruises, about any kind of travel that you're thinking about. Or if you think about being a travel planner, I'm always happy to give my 2 cents and link you with any resources that I think that may be helpful for anyone out there.
Okay. And you also plan non-Disney travel, is that correct?
I do, yeah. I do non-Disney travel as well. A lot of the people that I work with start off doing Disney because I think that's what most people, that's how they kind of encounter me as I have done a lot of Disney travel and people refer me for Disney. But then over time, there's some families that I've worked with, multiple times over the years. I start branching out and doing different trips. And so I help with that too as well. So if it's something that I can help with, I'm happy to do so. If there's something that I feel like there might be another planner or different resources that may be better suited, I'm happy to assist with that too as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for agreeing to come on the show and share all this incredibleness with everyone.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's so much fun.
We'll make sure that all of your information is in the show notes too, so that way anyone who's listening can find you. But yes, thank you again. We'll see you all next time.